Good morning, folks, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you had a really nice weekend wherever you are in the world. Just before we get into this, don't forget to drop a subscription. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to drop a comment. Those three things really do help the channel grow, and it helps us get further along the journey, and it helps us keep returning, coming back. There's a lot going on, honestly, with our chain at the moment. It's always feast or famine. I've found there's either nothing going on or just an absolute ton going on in general. But that's kind of the consensus of the broader ecosystem of crypto at the moment. And everything's sort of booming, everything's got volatility. It's a very interesting time to be involved in crypto. There are talks of the BTC ETFs making an appearance at some point in the next couple of months. And honestly, that is something that could just explode this market way before the bull run. And we've seen this a few times before historically. So it's not something that you should totally write off not happening, because it is something that definitely could happen. So crypto bubbles, like I was saying, it's really interesting. There's a lot of volatility. Trade safe, take profits where you can. That's something a lot of people will fail to explain to you, that you need to take profits. And a lot of the times, right, you've got to make these kind of decisions, and you need to make them to the best of your ability on your own judgment, because it can all crumble at any point. BTC could take a dump, the ETFs could get delayed by 5 years or something crazy like that, and all of a sudden we're back at square one. And that's just the kind of the way the cookie crumbles. But like I was saying, there's a lot of stuff going on in LUNC, and there's a huge, for me, I'm seeing a very, very big change in the way everybody's moving at the moment. And it just seems like everybody's, for once, moving in the same direction. Everybody's kind of on the same page, and everybody understands what everybody's doing. We've got a few people here and there that for some reason fail to just reach out through DMs and feel the need to just spout every comment for and on Twitter, and it doesn't work like that. You really do need to reach out to people through DMs, and you need to make direct lines of communication in order to better facilitate each other's needs or what another person's doing, because it leads to all of these different issues. But one of the core issues I've always found with any team working on the blockchain is that we just pay them a wage and expect them to work for 3 months, and it never works out. You can't monitor things like that, and you're not really getting your bang for your buck, so to speak. Now, with this pay per job and governance rule job list, it really introduces and fosters in an environment, right, where you are getting your bang for your buck. And it really is that simple, right? Instead of you forking out a load of money at the beginning, instead you're outlining a very specific task that has very specific milestones that need to be reached, on top of a successful implementation, which comes in the form of a merge into the repository. But in itself, right, it fosters in an environment where you're getting your bang for your buck. And instead of having people sort of sitting around twiddling their thumbs like, well, we'll get it done when we get it done. Instead, they're going to want to be paid sooner, right? So the most little amount of time they can possibly spend on that to get from point A to point Z to get paid is what they're going to do. But with this all being said, right, some people say, well, maybe this would foster in mistakes and issues like that. Well, no, because the person won't get paid unless it's tested successfully and implemented. And this is a real rudimentary version of kind of wanting to follow this road, right, of shadowing TFL and getting access to enterprise and alliance and all of these different things that are being built, for example, like Foundation and Feather. But getting access to those makes what we're doing here very rudimentary, because inside enterprise is something called labor market. And this is pretty much what labor market is, apart from it's a far more advanced system that's Cosmos wide accepted, and it works with everything. Right, you just need to enable IBC hooks at the end of its complications. I think that's about as complicated as that gets implementation wise, because we're not the ones who are going to be building these tools, right? TFL are doing it, all comes through enterprise. So this is all part of this journey of getting to there. Obviously, right, there are things, like I've explained, that we're going to need to do as a community, as developers and as validators, and that all brews down, right, to working and walking in the same direction as one another. But this job list gives us the ability to, for example, there's a ton of work that needs doing. Just saying there's not a ton that work needs doing. I'm just giving an example. There's a ton of work needs doing. There's a bit of overflow. We can simply post those jobs up and we can get developers in from other chains. And this is always going to be something that we never ever want to rule out. And instead of kind of trying to get developers sat there on standby, just having them as part of the ecosystem, them knowing that they can check in every other day, every other week, and see if there's any new jobs for them to pick up. We really bring in an environment where coins start to move. You give purpose and utility use cases to these very, very small parts of a very, very large ecosystem. And it's all about feeding these small gears so those small gears can turn the very larger gears above them. Now, with all of this being said, the price is looking very interesting. The reason why I'm saying this and sort of shuffling this in at the end of the video here is because we're in what I see as point critical right now. There's this resistance area and we've been trying to get out of this resistance area for some time now. We keep coming up and we keep breaking back down below this resistance line. And what we really want to see is this real strong push out of this area coming up to around 7,400 points per coin range, which is around here. That's where I'd really like to see us come up to, somewhere like that, because we need to find a new trend. We need to confirm that this is a strong breakout and the community supports what's going on and you all feel like you're in the loop. And I think this is something that's so important, and it's been really kind of removed from a situation, is that community connection between the community and those who are working to push the chain forward. And honestly, everything's moving so well behind the scenes, and there's going to be some huge governance decisions to make in the future, especially with what I've been covering here on the channel, and wanting to see the community's reaction of possibly getting access to all of these different tools and how you feel. And it just seems everybody feels like this is a good route. And like I said before, right, all of the validators over there are validating this chain. So it's even more accepted in the validating base. And it puts us in a position as a chain, right, where we can develop to a point where we just don't need developers. We have all of the tools. We have everything we need. And there's going to be zero to little development work. It's at that point we need to work on marketing, shipping, and funding all of the different projects on chain. For example, right, I would go back and I would look at the historical evidence of what projects started at the beginning and what projects are still around. And I would put those to the top of the list. So for example, you've got Lunar Burning Nights, you've got Metagloria, you've got Exodus. So those three projects are probably the ones you would want to sort out first, because they're the ones that are closest to launch. They're the ones that have committed to this chain. They're the ones that are going to give a utility use case to our very, very substantial supply. And this is kind of what we need to begin to think about now as things start to rope together behind the scenes. But something I'll always abide by is governance. And regardless of wanting to follow whatever route or do whatever, it's all going to come down to a governance-based decision. And it always has to be like that. Even if you're wanting to change the logo of the chain, it needs to be a governance-based decision at the end of the day. But let me know what you folks think. Let me know what's been going on over your weekends. Let me know what you've been drinking. I'm all out of coffee ideas. I'm still drinking some Lofberg's beans that I've got at the moment. They're pretty damn good. You just need to get that grind right. It's irritating. If you're a coffee lover and you go from bean to cup, you'll understand changing beans can be very awkward, especially if you do manual grinding and all of the different stuff. Anyway, I'm babbling on about coffee again, aren't I? Folks, stay safe, stay humble, stay aware, and as always, stay united. We move forward together, and I will catch you in the next one. Choo!